Year-old guy is heading home from the office when he spots a girl sitting under a streetlight. He walks up to her and asks why she's still out here at this ungodly hour. Turns out she missed the last train and has no way to get home. So she pops the question, can she crash at his place? And in return, she's even willing to offer him a little something. Yoshida, being the gentleman he is, decides to be her knight in shining armor, even after a bit tipsy from drowning his sorrows after getting rejected by his girlfriend earlier. He figures he'll kick her out in the morning. The girl, who goes by the name Sayu, attempts to catch some Z's next to Yoshida, but he firmly refuses. In his drunken slumber, he mumbles that he only wants soup made by a girl's hands. When Yoshida wakes up the next morning, he's taken aback to find the girl still in his house. He asks her, "What the heck is a girl doing in my place?" Sayu reminds him that he brought her home last night. Confusion dances in his eyes as he questions her if he did something inappropriate. But Sayu assures him that nothing happened, and it was actually Yoshida who kept turning her down, saying he wouldn't sleep with a little girl, which made Yoshida feel proud. Sayu decides to make some soup for Yoshida since he was going on about it in his sleep. As she prepares the soup, Sayu asks Yoshida if he remembers anything from last night when he found her under the streetlight. Yoshida's neurons attempt to fire up some memories, and then it hits him like a melon dropped from the top shelf. Oh, the girl in the black panties. Sayu gives him a bewildered look, wondering if that's how he remembers girls. She then asks if there's anything she can do to make him feel better, but Yoshida, ever the tough guy, keeps refusing her offers, no matter how insistent she gets. Sayu finds it unusual to encounter a guy who lets her stay at his place without expecting anything in return. Yoshida asks Sayu for her ID card, discovering that her name is indeed Sayu. She's from a far-off city and ran away from home without telling her parents. She's been living like this for 6 months, and it seems her mom couldn't care less about her whereabouts. Sayu had been crashing at different people's places during these months, and in return, she would do something with them. Since she couldn't afford rent, Yoshida allows her to stay at his house until she decides to go back to her home. And in return, Sayu has to handle the household chores. Yoshida wants her to learn that there are other ways to earn a living, and if she tries to make any moves on him again, he'll kick her out faster than a cat on a hot tin roof. One of Yoshida's buddies at work suggests sending Sayu to her home back, but Yoshida doesn't have a clue where she lives, keen on handing her over to the cops either. Surprisingly, he started caring about her well-being. When Yoshida gets home, he notices the clothes all neatly ironed, and Sayu has whipped up soup for him once more. Yoshida steps out onto the balcony for a smoke, but Sayu is taken aback to see that he doesn't puff away in front of her like the others did, as if there was nobody else around. Yoshida simply says, "I ain't like them and you better raise your standards too." Yoshida starts pondering how someone could be so tough on a 16-year-old girl. He tells Sayu that he can still see her black undies and she should change into something other than her school uniform. But poor Sayu only has that one outfit, so Yoshida heads out to the market to buy her something new. Sayu insists that he doesn't need to do all this for her and that she's been thinking of ways to repay his kindness. That's when Yoshida drops the bombshell. "Since you've been taking care of the house, things have become a heck of a lot easier for me. No more dishwashing or worrying about clean clothes, so that's more than enough." Sayu, not one to give up easily, asks him once again if she can sleep with him. This time, Yoshida gets ticked off and she calls him a pervert, claiming she never asked him to go all pervy on her. Seeing Sayu's radiant smile, Yoshida can't help but compliment her cute grin, making both of them blush like tomatoes. Word even starts going around the office that Yoshida has a girlfriend now. Some ladies even comment on how his clothes seem cleaner, and he's suddenly punctual, leaving work right on the dot. Yoshida insists that Sayu isn't his type, but she sure knows how to handle household chores. However, Yoshida's scratching his head trying to figure out why Sayu ended up in Tokyo, a city so far away to begin with. The next day, while they were both grocery shopping at the mall, Yoshida asks Sayu if she has a mobile phone. Turns out, Sayu had tossed her phone into the ocean, much to the dismay of the fish community who were tired of human trash invading their underwater domain. Reason being, her annoying friends from her hometown kept bothering her with constant messages, leaving her phoneless and the fishy residents less than thrilled. When Yoshida suggests getting her a new phone, she declines and puts on a fake smile that Yoshida absolutely hates. Sayu tries to say something to him, but hesitates and puts on that fake smile again, which Yoshida tells her to drop because she kept smiling for no reason. Sayu apologizes and promises not to do it again, but it had become a habit for her because of something that happened to her in the past that she couldn't forget. Yoshida tells her that changing all of a sudden isn't that easy and she can take her time. During office hours, Yoshida tells his colleague Mishima to fix the project that had some mistakes. Mishima stays late at the office to fix the project and compliments Yoshida on how he works with his team instead of getting mad at his assistants like everyone else. Then Mishima asks Yoshida if he has a girlfriend, to which Yoshida tells her that he doesn't, he got rejected by a girl named Goto-san, the current boss who promoted him to the friend zone. Taking the opportunity, Mishima also asks him to hang out sometime. Yoshida came home late that night and Sayu was worried about him. In situations like these, Yoshida considers getting a phone to stay in contact with Sayu. The next day, he starts looking at a cool design phone with his friend Hashimoto. Hashimoto asks him if he has feelings for Sayu because why else would he choose a simple phone instead of a branded one? Yoshida makes it clear that he only likes old women with big things in front and Sayu is just a teenager, too young for his antique heart. As Yoshida keeps checking the time to go home, his boss, Goto-san, shows up out of nowhere. She's the one who rejected him before. Goto tells him how she loves spending time with him compared to others, but Yoshida wants to know why she invited him to dinner after rejecting him. Goto, under the guise of a truth or dare game, digs in his personal life asking him if he's dating someone because she's been his boss for 5 years and has never seen him distracted. Nowadays, he rushes home as soon as his shift ends, even started dressing neatly and shaving daily. Goto suspects Mishima, but Yoshida clears the air, saying he's not dating anyone and that she's the one he loves. But if she doesn't love him back, she has no right to interfere in his life. Yoshida gets the opportunity to ask Goto about the size of her cups, when he came to know it's one size bigger than Sayu. When he comes home, Sayu gives him a warm hug and he feels good about it, although she asks him to take a shower because she could smell the yakiniku dish from him. Yoshida starts pondering how a teenage girl is cheering up an office worker like him. He gives her the Japanese iPhone he brought and Sayu only saves Yoshida's contact on it. Her smile seems much more genuine now and it feels like something is going on in her mind. Truly, understanding teenage girls is quite a challenging task. Sayu was troubled, wondering why Yoshida doesn't shower her with attention like others do. Sure, he may not be interested in little girls, but doesn't he want to have a little bit of fun? This time, Mishima completes her work without any mistakes, and she invites Yoshida to watch a movie with her. Goto, like a roaming camera, keeps an eye on them. On the other hand, Sayu, with her overactive imagination, starts envisioning Yoshida on a romantic date and panics about being kicked out of the house. Just then, she receives a message from Yoshida saying he'll be coming home late. According to Sayu's estimation, he must be out on a date with some girl. After watching the movie, Yoshida and Mishima talk about the twists and turns of fate, and Mishima tells Yoshida that even their meeting is a sign from the gods. Yoshida can't make any sense of it and asks her to stop talking about unnecessary things and head home. Just as Mishima is about to leave after giving him a hug, Sayu spots them clinging to each other in the middle of the street. Yoshida heads to home and wonders if even his encounter with Sayu is a divine conspiracy. When Yoshida finally arrives home, he's greeted with an empty house. Yoshida searches through the dark night, roaming through all the streets, but no matter how hard he searches, Sayu remains elusive, as if swallowed by the night itself. Sayu, on the other hand, sits alone in a park crying. She thinks that Yoshida doesn't even care about her, not even a little. Meanwhile, Mishima arrives and asks her why she's sitting alone in the park at this hour. Mishima shares her own experience of running away from home during school time. The shared vulnerability creates an instant connection between them. She starts opening up about her feelings, how she lives with a guy who treats her very kindly, but she doesn't understand why she doesn't want anything in return. Mishima explains how some people tend to care more about others than themselves, and gradually you start developing feelings for them. Mishima's words strike a chord. Sayu realizes that Mishima is talking about Yoshida too. Mishima's like, always trust that dude, he trusts you too, and he won't bail on you ever. So Yoshida goes looking for Sayu, asking her what she's doing at the park. And then it hits Mishima that they both were talking about Yoshida the whole time. Mishima playfully asks Yoshida if he's her old man and says they'll meet up tomorrow, and off she goes. Sayu starts pulling some shady moves because she's a girl, trying to get Yoshida to do something for her. But Yoshida's not having it, and she's all like, why are you letting me crash at your place if you don't want anything in return? Sayu finds it weird to mooch off someone without giving something back. Yoshida makes it clear that even though she's a good-looking teen, he only shares his bed with someone he loves, and he ain't loving Sayu. Seriously, if everyone could be as decent as Yoshida, this world would be like freaking heaven. He tells her how much better his life is since she showed up, how he doesn't feel lonely at home anymore, and he's found a buddy he can shoot the breeze with and have a good laugh. Sayu doesn't need to do any fancy stuff to stay at his place. When she hears that, she starts sniffling and crying. Yoshida just tells her to stick around until she decides to go back home. Sayu finally musters up the courage to ask Yoshida if she can find a job. He understands that sitting alone at home all day could mess with Sayu's head, so he decides to help her land a gig at a nearby convenience store. That's where she meets this new girl, Asami. Asami gives Sayu the lowdown on the job, and they realize they live close to each other. So when Asami suggests going to Sayu's place, she mentions that she lives with this brother-like dude and needs his permission. Asami is curious to meet this brother-like guy. Meanwhile, back at the office, Yoshida receives a message from Sayu, but Mishima happens to see it. Mishima accidentally found out about Sayu, and now Hashimoto's wondering who spilled the beans. Mishima confronts Yoshida, asking why he didn't tell them earlier when even Hashimoto's in the loop now. At the door, Yoshida comes face to face with Sayu and Asami, who takes one look at Yoshida and deems him ancient in Sayu's book. Asami's got questions, and Yoshida gotta come up with some answers real quick. He explains that he and Sayu have been like family since they were kids, and they've been living together. Sayu jumps in from the kitchen, claiming that Yoshida used to take care of her. But just when they think they've dodged a bullet, Asami throws another question, but thankfully Sayu calls out Yoshida from the kitchen, telling him to bring dinner. Asami expressing her admiration for Sayu and lucky to be living with a girl like her. However, she finds his apartment way too small. In response, Yoshida jokingly suggests that maybe Asami should leave so they can free up some much-needed space in the room. Asami, still trying to find an excuse to accompany Yoshida outside and dig deeper into the truth, persists, but Yoshida remains resolute, not giving in to her curiosity. Asami advises Yoshida to take good care of Sayu because finding genuinely kind people is hard, and he also requests to become friends with her so that Sayu doesn't feel alone in this new city. In an unexpected turn of events, Goto surprises Yoshida by taking him out to dinner. During their meal, she starts probing him with investigative questions, asking why he's so close to Mishima and why he's constantly messaging someone on his phone. Yoshida can't help but wonder why she's so interested in his personal life. Finally, Goto musters up the courage to share her true feelings with Yoshida. She confesses that she likes him and admits that she had lied about having a boyfriend before. It turns out she was apprehensive about getting into a relationship with Yoshida because she was inexperienced and nervous about what can happen between the sheets. Yoshida responds by telling her that if her feelings are genuine and she's not joking, then this time she'll have to propose to him. This will make it clear whether her love for him is true or not. Meanwhile, Sayu sits alone, starting to feel a sense of loneliness creeping back in. Flashes of her past haunt her thoughts. Just when she begins to feel down, she receives a message from Yoshida, informing her that he's bringing Goto home to meet her. Sayu's curiosity is piqued by truth. She reveals that she randomly met Yoshida on the street, and there is no deeper relationship between them, assuring Goto that there is no cause for worry. Goto, wanting to have a private conversation with Sayu, requests Yoshida to step outside for a moment. Once Yoshida leaves, Goto unleashes a barrage of questions, attempting to uncover Sayu's entire history. She answers everything, however, Sayu remains firm and refuses to divulge the reasons behind her journey to Tokyo. In her role as Yoshida's friend, Goto asks Sayu how long she intends to stay in Tokyo. Sayu admits that she is not yet ready to return home, as the thought of doing so fills her with anxiety. However, she acknowledges that she cannot continue staying with Yoshida indefinitely, as society would not tolerate their living arrangement. Goto tries to explain to Sayu that running away from home is not a solution and encourages her to gather the courage to face her situation, assuring her that she is willing to wait until she's ready. Deep down, Sayu knows that she will eventually have to go back home, and she promises Goto that she will do so someday. Goto advises Sayu to live her life like a normal high school girl and cherish these moments as they won't come back. On their way back from the grocery store, Mishima asks Yoshida if she can stay at his place for the night. However, Yoshida firmly states that he only allows relatives or his girlfriend to stay in his home. Surprised by this response, Mishima questions why Yoshida brought Goto to his house then. Yoshida is taken aback, wondering how Mishima found out about it. Mishima reveals that she had been secretly following Yoshida and Goto from the office and witnessed them both getting off at the same station and heading towards Yoshida's house. She apologizes for spying on them and